Andre Cacciatorino of NESN.com with Matt Perino of UFC.com. Matt, it's finalized. It's scheduled. It's going to happen. August 26th, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I've been talking about it for almost 24 hours now, and it's hard to even fathom what this thing is going to be like because it's so big. And everybody's talking about it. Las Vegas is buzzing. The world is buzzing. I mean, this is going to be a global event. It's a very exciting time.
I completely agree with you. It's going to be an exciting next couple of months lead up to the fight with all the press conferences and the trash talk that these two fighters, Mayweather and McGregor. For me, that's what the fight is going to be all about, the lead up to August 26th. It's just going to be a fantastic, exciting 2 months of trash talk. The Conor McGregor might throw those Bill Belichick gallons of water that they toss on over his head after every Super Bowl. He might throw one of those at Mayweather during a press conference instead of a water bottle this time. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be fantastic. Now, for the fight though, the actual fight, what are your thoughts on this? A lot of people are like, oh, it's just a it's going to be amazing, and then there's the other crowd that's like, oh, this is a sham. It's not going to be good for either sport. What are your thoughts on this?
It's whatever you want it to be. I think that, it's in the eye of the beholder. Some people are going to be for it. Some people are excited for it. Some people kind of think it's a sham. I've seen that a lot. But it's like everybody wants to see it. If they didn't, we wouldn't be talking about this. I wouldn't be talking about a fight between an MMA champion and a boxing champion. So the fight itself, I've gone out now for the past few months and been talking about, potentially what could Conor do in this fight to win it? How could he win it? That's not to say that I'm picking the guy to win the fight. He's facing Floyd Money Mayweather, the greatest boxer to ever do it, arguably. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's a very, very good chance of Conor McGregor to win this fight. What I am saying is there are variables in this fight and in this matchup and in this moment that make it a little bit more interesting than I think a lot of maybe boxing or MMA purists believe that exists. I'll tell you right now, if you get hit in the face in a fight, it's going to hurt and it's going to impact that fight. If Floyd gets hit by a 28-year-old Conor McGregor, he's 40 years old, I'm just saying things could get interesting, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. You look at the odds, actually, on November 17th. This was right after Conor McGregor won his lightweight belt. November 17th, he was a plus 950 underdog. Mayweather was a minus 2250 favorite. This is according to OddsShark. And since then, June 14, Mayweather minus 800, McGregor plus 500. A lot of money going towards McGregor in the last, 6, 7, 8 months. So a lot of people, I feel like they agree with you that one punch can change this fight. But to be honest with you, Matt, I think McGregor's already won this fight. He already won. It's over. He won. He won. The fact that he got the fight, that means he already won. Nobody thought that Conor McGregor would be in the position that he is today 4 years ago. The guy was nobody 4 years ago. Look at him now. He's going to be on top of the world, make $100 million from this fight. I'm so happy for him. He's such a great guy, such an entertaining fighter, such a great fighter. He already won. If he loses the fight, everyone's going to say, well, we expected it. The guy is a UFC fighter fighting in the boxing ring. Everyone's going to just, okay, he lost. We all knew it was going to happen. But if he wins, that small chance that if he wins, his life will even change forever. The worst case that can happen for him in this fight is he walks away with $100 million in his pocket. He won the fight already. He has nothing to lose. Congratulations, Conor McGregor. I'm very happy for the guy.
You are fired up today, Andre, and I like it. It's the time to be fired up. I mean, this is exciting. We debated so much on this show as we've spoken over the last few months of who's the A side of this fight, right?
Yeah.
But what makes this so special is we have two A sides, right? Conor McGregor, his tweet to announce this fight, measured against Floyd's tweet to announce this fight, did big numbers, bigger than Floyd, almost double. Right. And I think that Conor McGregor is this just lightning in a bottle superstar. You're right. It's happened so fast. The way that he's taken over the sports landscape, Forbes released the 100 richest celebrities. He's the only fighter on that list. Now, I know Floyd's been out of the game, but it's a testament to where he's placed himself amongst not only the sports landscape, but the celebrity landscape. So you're right. He has already won this one. I saw today that Max Kellerman went out on ESPN and said that he doesn't think that Conor McGregor is going to land a single punch in this fight.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. I guarantee you 100% Conor will land a few punches in this fight. And if he lands one hard enough and in the right spot, like I said before, that's what we're buying this pay-per-view for.
Yeah, again, McGregor, he's a stand-up fighter. Listen, he's the type of guy, he puts his mind, if he sets his mind to something, he does it. Like two-belt champion, everyone thought he was crazy. Well, he did it. He is so super focused on this fight that I think he has more than a good chance to maybe even win this fight. And as you said, Mayweather's 40 years old, 40-year-old guy against a 28-year-old guy in his prime. Again, all it takes is one hit. Anything can happen. I think Mayweather should be the heavy favorite in this fight. But hey, I kind of agree with the current odds right now. Plus 500 for McGregor and minus 800 Mayweather, compared to the odds 8 months ago that we talked about. I think it's going to be... We're gonna see something interesting, especially early on. I think McGregor's gonna be trying to be very aggressive, try to knock him out early and whatnot. And also for everybody who says this fight is a sham and whatnot, come on. Look, it's like reality TV. We all say we hate it, but we all watch it. Every Monday night, I sit and watch The Bachelor, and I'm very proud of it. I think it's very entertaining television. Everyone says they hate it, but hey, why are the ratings so high? How come every Monday night everybody sits down around their television and gets some rosé and sits and watches? This is the same thing. It's the same exact thing. People are saying, oh, this is going to be a boring fight, but they're going to pay that money. They're going to go to the bars. They're going to watch it. So stop complaining. Enjoy the next 2-3 months for what it's going to be. It's summer. The Stanley Cup just ended. NBA Finals just ended. All we have for the next 2-3 months is baseball. This is not an Olympic year. No World Cup. There's nothing going on this summer except this fight. So enjoy it.
Great stuff. Great stuff. I can't really add anything to it. You're on fire today, my friend.
Yes, I had a lot of coffee, I think. But listen, let's go back to the UFC world right now. We had a big fight this past weekend. Derrick Lewis, Mark Hunt. We both predicted Derrick Lewis to win. He did not win. In fact, he looked extremely exhausted at the end of that fight. He just kind of had to stop it. Mark Hunt coming out winning his 13th career MMA fight in his hometown. What did you make of that? And then Derrick Lewis, coming out after and saying that might be his last fight. He said, quote, "This is probably my last fight. I'm getting married next week, and I don't like to put my family through this. That will be my last fight." What were your thoughts on that comment and the fight?
I mean, it's tough to make sense of it all because you're right. That fight did not go how I anticipated it to go. I mean, we really saw some holes in Derrick Lewis's game. Especially, you start thinking about, you're thinking ahead. We were talking potential title shot. You think about him against a guy like Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, or maybe even Cain Velasquez. And I think those cardio issues are going to be a problem. If it didn't even seem like the intent to wrestle and get the fight into his world was there in that fight. Now, a lot's been made since the fight happened that Derrick Lewis has been on a crazy schedule. He's been fighting every few months, and at a heavyweight, that's a pretty crazy pace that he was trying to keep up. So I think what's going to happen is maybe he takes a step back, reevaluates, gets, calms down a little bit, get away from the game for a few months, enjoy the getting married, enjoy some time away, and then maybe ease your way back into training. I think we'll see him again. Listen, for the performance that it was, maybe not what we all expected, this guy is still a super talent in a division that needs stars. And like you always say, his personality is awesome. So I think giving him a little bit of time to think about things, he'll be back. Well,
Matt, you're a happily married man. You can look at your wedding. Very stressful period of your life, I'm sure. Was this smart for Derrick Lewis to schedule a fight around his own wedding?
Well, it wasn't a stressful time for me, Andre. It was a stressful time for my wife because I didn't do anything for it. But I did enjoy the day, and you're right. It is a very, emotional time, exciting time. A lot of your focus is spent on that, and so for Derrick, I mean, there was a video that we released last week of how close he is with his fiance and how much this means to him and how she's been through it with him through thick and thin. So I think that to have that looming is kind of a tough distraction, and maybe that had something to do with it. But I like Derrick Lewis a lot, like you do, and I really hope that he comes back.
Yeah, I really don't. I really hope he comes back as well. I'm not a big fan of this whole. I feel like we've been seeing it a lot lately. Someone loses a fight and they just decide that this is their last fight. I'm pretty sure if Derrick Lewis had beat Mark Hunt this past weekend, he would not have come out and say, "Oh, I don't like putting my family through this, and this is probably my last fight." He would have his sights set on next fight, which was probably might have been a title fight if he had won. So he had won 6 straight coming into this. I think he's still at the top of his game. I would love for him to just regroup, get married, go on a nice, beautiful honeymoon to a nice tropical place, come back, focus on the next task at hand. I think he's more than capable of doing that. So I really hope that this isn't the last of Derrick Lewis. And again, we saw Miesha Tate retire after her last loss. We saw, obviously, we haven't seen Rousey. She hasn't officially retired, but like, where is she? I don't like seeing it. Anthony Johnson, Rumble Johnson, he loses, he's gone. It's like, come on, let's. When LeBron James has lost 5 NBA Finals, is he retired from any of them? No, he comes back and he works harder the next year and tries to win a championship. So I want to see Lewis back, and I think he will be back. I don't think this is the last we've seen him. But yeah, anything else you want to add on that before we move on?
No, I think it's an emotional sport.
Yeah.
It's an emotional moment. You put so much into a training camp. It's not like team sports where you have like a season and a playoffs. You have this preparation period of 2 or 3 months that lead into one moment, one night. And when it doesn't go right for a guy like Derrick Lewis, maybe even for a guy like Anthony Johnson who put so much into it and we're climbing that ladder, the emotions run high. So I think fighters are more prone to, emotional decisions in the heat of the moment. And I think a lot of times, even Anthony Johnson, when Alexander Gustafsson was fighting, tweeted that he might be getting that itch to come back. So you never rule anything out. A lot of guys and ladies have retired, come back. We'll see. Hopefully, he comes back.
Well, let's look forward to this weekend, UFC Fight Night Singapore. We're staying in the other southern hemisphere, I believe. So we have Holly Holm going against McGregor-Mayweather. It's going to be an interesting matchup for Holly Holm. She's lost 3 in a row, starting with the championship fight against Miesha Tate, and then she went on to lose to Valentina Shevchenko, who Holm's coach said that they shouldn't even taken that fight. He came out and admitted that this week on the MMA Hour. And then her last loss was against Germaine de Randamie, another championship fight. And that was a very controversial fight. I thought Holm should have won that fight. There should have been a deduction on de Randamie because of a late hit after the bell. But Holm will be fighting McGregor-Mayweather, who hasn't outstruck an opponent in her last 4 fights and has 1 win in those 4 fights. She's both 2 fighters who aren't where they want to be right now. They're looking for this fight to kind of bounce back from this rut. Holm enters the fight as a -600 favorite. Who you got, Matt?
I think this is a great spot for Holly Holm.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of hers ever since she came into the UFC. I think that she rose to superstardom in a way that very few people can understand. The Ronda Rousey revolution was so unbelievable, and for her to be the one to knock Ronda off of that pedestal kind of sent her into her own brand of stardom, and it's a lot to shoulder. And this is a tough sport. John Jones is unique. He's an enigma. Those people do not exist in this sport. You do not win every time you go out into the octagon. She's in a little bit of a rut here. I mean, like you said, she's lost 3 in a row. The last one, a little bit controversial. Even the Miesha fight, you go back to that fight, she was going to win that fight. If Miesha didn't pull off that submission in the 5th round, Holly might still be the bantamweight champion in the world. And here's what I really like about Holly. Going back down to 135, great matchup against McGregor-Mayweather for her. And I think she matches up really well with the champion, Amanda Nunes, in the same kind of way that she does against Betch. Holly is a counter striker, kickboxer. She lands at an alarming pace. 88% of her significant strikes come at distance. And against fighters like Amanda and Betch, aggressive, pit bull style fighters, they're going to be trying to push the action, get inside, use their power. And that's playing right into Holly Holm's game. So I think this is a great springboard fight to get her back into that top 5 mix in the division. And then if she does wind up against Amanda at some point, I think it's a great matchup for her. Plus, I'd love to see her and Valentina Shevchenko again.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree with you. Plus, I like Holm's attitude. We just talked about Derrick Lewis wanting to retire after a loss. Holm has suffered some three emotional losses, 2 of them in championship fights. And here she is coming back at it again. This is what I was talking about. I love Holly Holm's desire to get back out there as quickly as possible, erase the loss, put it in the rear view mirror, and focus on what's in front of her. And that's what I like about her. And I like her in this fight too. Vegas loves her in this fight. So I think she bounces back here. I think Bethe-Correia is a good place for her, like you said, a good springboard for her to go forward. And who knows? Maybe at the end of the year at that Vegas event, we might see Nunes and Holm, or maybe Shevchenko and Holm fighting at December 30th. That'll be cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Bethe-Correia, I don't want to take anything away from her. She's a really good fighter.
Yeah.
I just don't think stylistically she matches up well with Holly. If you look back through her highlight reel, a lot of her best moments are just charging forward. And we saw in the Ronda Rousey fight with Holly, when you do that against Holm, she's so quick, in that professional boxing experience, that counter striking comes into play. And I have a feeling that Bethe is going to eat a lot of shots in this fight. She's come out and said that Holly Holm is overrated, which couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, Holly Holm is as good as advertised, despite the 3 straight losses. For someone to come along and derail the Ronda Rousey, express is very impressive. I'm excited for this fight. I'm excited for this card. There's a couple really good fights on this card. Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited about Colby Covington. Rafael dos Anjos is making his debut at welterweight. A lot of kind of big fights on this card and sprinkled into the next few events.
Yeah, you look at also, it should be noted as well that Correia, her last 3 fights, 2 of them were split decisions, very close, against Raquel Pennington and Jessica Eye. And her last fight was a draw. So those were very close fights. It could have probably gone either way. She beat Eye via split decision, but I do think Holm will knock her out first, maybe second round. So that's my prediction. You want to offer a prediction here, Matt?
Definitely going Holly Holm. I don't know. It's a 5-round fight, so I think depending on the aggression of Bethe, I think she's going to walk into a lot of shots. I think Holly could potentially finish this fight, and I think she might be kind of gunning for a finish. I think she wants to get the bad taste of 3 straight losses out of her mouth, and I think she wants to impress and put on a big performance and dominate the fight, like she said earlier this week. And looking for maybe a finish, 4th-round finish for Holly Holm. All
right, so let's move forward now. We have Sage Northcutt. He's been training with Team Alpha Male, Uriah Faber and Team Alpha Male lately in preparation for his UFC 214 fight. According to Faber, who went on the MMA Hour this week, he's not officially on Team Alpha Male. What he said was he's got a full camp, so I'm not sure how much he's going to be out here for his camp, but it's probably going to be a more permanent thing for him moving forward. This is in regards to him joining Team Alpha Male. But as of right now, he's kind of splitting time. And man, what a fast learner and what a positive guy. He's fun to be around. Now, there's a lot of guys who don't like Team Alpha Male members, and Sage Northcutt, obviously, once he gets there, it's just, he's a very divisive figure. Some people just don't like him. They can't stand his face, I guess. I don't know what it is. I know some of my friends, they just don't like his look, I guess. But I like him. I think he's a great guy. He's a fast learner. What are your thoughts on this? Like, he's a young kid learning from one of the best of all time. This is only going to be positive for him, right? Going forward, he's lost 2 of his last 3 fights, I believe. So, what are your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. I love the move to Team Alpha Male, and furthermore, I'm a big fan of Sage Northcutt.
Yes.
Not only as a fighter and as a person, because I do think he's a great kid with a great head on his shoulders. He's done everything the right way. But I love his approach to the game. First of all, he's very humble. He comes in here, he's had some setbacks, and he stays positive. He's looking to learn. He's a young kid, thrust into the spotlight really early on. And I love his approach, what he's doing. He spent time at TriStar up in Canada. He went and worked with the champ, Tyron Woodley, out at Rufus Sport, spent time with him in 2 training camps, helping him prepare for Stephen Thompson. Now he's going out to work with Team Alpha Male. He has his camp back in Houston, potentially moving to Team Alpha Male. This guy is a sponge. He's looking to learn. He's looking to grow. He had so much success early on in his life, as a karate fighter, did some jiu-jitsu, did some wrestling in high school. He's very well-rounded, but he's learning that you got to kind of put all the tools together. And he's doing his due diligence. He's trying to work on his game. I thought he looked really good against Mickey Gall. A little bit of fire came out when he took on Mickey Gall, and he was talking to him a little bit. I think he got fired up from the the back and forth that they had going into that fight, but he looked good. He touched up Mickey Gall in that fight, and then went to the ground, and that's where he's had his struggles. Is when the fight goes to the mat, he hasn't been up for a few challenges, but that is the place to go. You talk about team alpha male. You talk about toughness, grit. Uriah Faber, Justin Buchholz, the bantamweight champion of the world, Cody Garbrandt, Danny Castillo, Chris Holdsworth, all those guys up there. Toughness. They've been in this game for a long time. They're kind of the originators of the lighter weight classes. I mean, guys that really came up and put the UFC lighter weight classes on the map. And you're obviously led by Uriah. Great move. I love what Sage is doing. I'm all about Sage Northcutt. I
like him too, very much so. I think he's one of those young faces in the sport that we're going to see for a very long time. I think this is a guy that one day we will see a championship belt around his waist. I like a lot about him. He's a smart dude too. The guy's a petroleum engineering major at Texas A&M, and he's also from the same hometown, Katy, Texas, as Andy Dalton. They both went to Katy High School, so I don't know. Let's hope he has more he has more success in big situations than Andy Dalton does throughout his career. But I do like the guy. I think joining Team Alpha Male is only going to propel him to the next level, much like it did with Cody Garbrandt. So we'll see what happens with that going forward. And now let's talk about John Jones, UFC 214. Mike Winklejohn, who his coach is actually Holly Holm. He came out and talked about John Jones a little bit on the MMA Hour, and he said, quote, "Jones is coming in with a smile on his face. I'm going to tell you what, John's coming in and he's finding new ways to hit people with elbows. He keeps bringing them real close to people's faces and then just stopping with a smile and continuing on with the process. So he's got some new things that are even meaner for Daniel Cormier in this fight." So a meaner John Jones is what Winklejohn is talking about. Matt Perino, what did you make of these comments?
Well, I asked you specifically to put this on there, John Jones, because I can't stop talking about the guy. I really know this fight particularly. I feel like we've been in withdrawal of John Jones because he's been gone for so long. We're about to get him back, and I kind of love this quote from Mike Winklejohn. A guy that's been out of the game, kind of taking a step back, has his moment now to make things right, to really, approach the game differently, approach how he is as a person differently. I'm excited for what changes he can bring to the table. He's spent a lot of time working on his jiu-jitsu since he's been gone, and he's said plenty of times that he's going to be more dangerous on the ground if the fight gets there. And he landed takedowns in the first fight. There's no doubt about it. But what's great about this fight too is it's a challenge. It's a challenge for Jones in a guy that many consider, and those that don't should, a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. Maybe not only currently, but all time. I mean, look at what he's done, Daniel Cormier, in the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. The only reason, he didn't fight for a title at heavyweight is because, his friend Cain Velasquez was at the time the champion, wanted to move down. So, you got two guys in, the height of, maybe not the, I'm going to say the height of their stardom. I mean, John Jones, even coming back after being gone for all this time, is still a huge draw, still does huge numbers, still people are interested. People are gravitating towards him. He was like that guy, that Michael Jordan-like guy that I think a lot of fans look to. And I think that's why, unfortunately for Daniel Cormier, that's why he struggled so much in this kind of back and forth and kind of been booed a lot, is because fans just have a special place for John Jones and what he was able to accomplish inside the octagon. So I think, a new, meaner John Jones with new tools and new tricks, sign me up. UFC 214 can't come soon enough.
Look, here's my thing, though. What is Winklejohn supposed to say, though? He's talking about the guy he coaches. He's going to give him praise. He's going to build him up. So I don't know. I think the layoff, I think the suspension, and not even that. I think Jones is a great fighter. He'll have success going forward if he stays clean and everything. But when I saw Cormier, again, fighting Rumble Johnson at UFC 210, he looked good. He looked like he's approaching the top of his game, and he has more room to grow and continue build his legacy. Cormier does, and I think he has a great potential to be maybe the pound-for-pound king very shortly. I mean, with McGregor doing his own thing, boxing, and Demetrius Johnson, who knows what's happening with that situation. He's kind of like the boring champ, I guess. I mean, DC, he just looks so good in that fight against Rumble Johnson. I don't know. Even a mean John Jones, as his coach said, I don't think will be enough to stop Cormier. I want to see what's going to happen throughout the next month or so. There's still a long way to go until that fight for me to make a prediction. But early on, I kind of like Cormier in this one. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
No, I like everything that you just said, and you're completely right. Nobody's a bigger Daniel Cormier fan than I am. I think what he's done, not only in his time as champion, but leading up to that time, you take one bad night out of it, and he's one of the best ever. And I think that his style presents problems for John Jones because of he's a grinder. One thing I've been impressed about looking back at John Jones, a lot of John Jones' old fights, is his ability to handle bad moments in fights. Like a lot of times guys get rocked or guys get caught or guys get in a bad situation and they fold. Every time John Jones has been in a bad situation, you go back to that Alexander Gustafsson, and it happened a few times, he's answered the bell, he's come back, he's been even better. So that's Daniel Cormier. He's a grinder. You can't mentally beat Daniel Cormier, but styles make fights, storylines make fights. And if you look at now, we have a sample size of 2 fights with Cormier and Johnson. Cormier was just in Johnson's head. I mean, he said it himself. Anthony Johnson came out that fight, swung for a few times, and then was so panicked about the wrestling, started trying to be a wrestler against Daniel Cormier. The worst game plan Anthony Rumble Johnson, one of the most powerful men in the history of combat sports, could have against Daniel Cormier. Same thing with John Jones. Jones has said several times that he didn't take it seriously. He wasn't, he did some drugs before that fight, all this kind of stuff, and he still went out there and dominated the fight. So I think there's a mental aspect of this fight that I think that if anybody can overcome it, it's Daniel. But I'll tell you right now, we got 2 great stories. We talked a lot about Daniel over the years, over the months, and now we're talking about Jones back in the fray. It's a great matchup. Bad Blood Part 2.
Yeah, you talk about the build up for this Mayweather-McGregor fight. I am honestly, I'm more jacked up about this Cormier Jones. It's going to be great. It's two guys who are trying to bounce back from devastating moments in their lives. You have, Cormier losing to Jones. He wants that revenge. He wants to avenge that defeat, stay champion, and truly build his legacy off this coming fight. And Jones, who has his own personal issues, trying to make his comeback into the sport. It's going to be fun to watch. But before then, that's way late July. This weekend, we have, of course, Holly Holm, Betch-Correia. Weird start time because in the United States, 8 a.m. Eastern on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be an interesting one.
And don't worry, because if you got UFC Fight Pass, you can get a 7-day free trial. You can watch it when you wake up, later in the day, Saturday night, Sunday morning. It's playable DVR-wise all the time.
I didn't even think of that. I was like, how am I going to wake up at 8 a.m. after a...
Don't wake up at 8 a.m. if you don't have to. You can watch it later on in the day. Yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be up. I got
Saturday.
A 3-year-old, Andre, so I'll be up.
Well, I bet you would. I'll have a pounding headache at 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings, probably. But hey, Matt, as always, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week, and thanks again for joining us, Matt.
Take care, Andre.